Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Younts. This is part one. I have an award-winning filmmaker who directs, writes, produces, and understands finance. His film EFC has won over 30 awards, including the Best Feature Film and Best Director at the Palladino de Oro International Sports Film Festival. Please welcome to the DMF, Jaze Bordeaux. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Justin. It's nice to be here with you. I know this has been a while in the making.
Yeah.
So I've been looking forward to this conversation today.
This should be fun. So first thing I want to ask you is, where did you grow up?
I'm based in Canada right now, in Toronto, and I am Canadian, but I actually did grow up in the States, right?
Yeah.
Spent the I mean, we did move around a lot, but I'd say my early days was in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And then we moved to New Jersey, a few different parts of New Jersey. Then we were down in Florida. And then, as you grow up as an adult, I was out on the West Coast for a while in LA for a bit there before ultimately, life brought me back home, I guess, right?
Yeah.
To Canada, which was strange because I never felt like I was at home in the States. So every time I'd leave the country, I'd be like, I wonder where I'm supposed to be. I just don't feel like it's here. But it never really lined up until I think I saw Die Hard, was it? I was watching Die Hard one day and they had a scene in Nova Scotia. And I'm like, oh my God, my passport. Yes, I'm Canadian, right?
Oh, so Die Hard with a Vengeance. Yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
know the scene you're talking about where he sees
Yeah.
the bottle on the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
even because you moved around a lot, but like, how long were you actually in Canada originally growing up?
I think that obviously my parents split, so I might have been there for a year
So you
as a
only a year
baby.
in, but you
Yeah,
always felt
only
like
I
that was
was
the
when I was
home.
I didn't know that. It's just
Yeah.
in the States, I just something always felt slightly off, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think I know I'm here. I'm just not sure this is where I'm supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And it was always something in like the back of my mind, like I but then you ask the question, well, if this you're not supposed to be here, where are you supposed to be, right? That would be the next logical question I would ask myself, and I never had an answer for it. And it just never had occurred to me. And I think after 9/11, things had changed or tightened up a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so I was also having some issues down there with my status, they said, which was whatever it was. And but then yeah, I saw Die Hard and it clicked. I'm like, oh my God, the answer was right in front of me all this time, right?
Just like in
Just
the
had
movie.
to look at my passport and it was like that was the answer, right? But there was a time for everything. So
Yeah.
I do appreciate my time down there in the States, and I'm happy I had that experience because that's why I love Americans. Grew up
Yeah.
with them, brothers, whatever you want to call it, and uh, the hustle mindset mentality. I think I definitely got that down there,
What
which I
would you
do
say?
appreciate. You
What
know,
would you say the difference between the Canadian and the American in just general terms? Because we don't have time to go into all of it.
how, how about I give you this example? Let's
There
just
you
look at
go.
let's take the actors for example, right?
Okay.
I can sit in my office and I can tell you I get so many emails and direct solicitations from actors or whoever it is, and 100% of the time they're American. I don't get that from, for example, Canadians, and I've had this discussion with our team, and it's really just the mindset.
Yeah.
In terms of the thinking, and I think it's a great example. Um, I find on your side of the border, a lot of the actors are definitely making their own opportunities. They're aggressive enough to reach out. Um, you know, they'll find the opportunities before anybody knows about it because it's just like the mindset. It's just that kind of hustle the way it is. Um, the mindset here isn't quite like that. No one wants to really reach too much to offend anybody or disrupt protocols. Um, a little bit more polite. It's just part of the culture. Whereas I find on where you are, people have no problems disrupting protocols and you know, rewriting the narrative and you know, doing what they have to do to get to the next place. So both have their pros and cons, and I guess together we balance each other out.
Hmm.
If you want to look at it like that, but yeah, there is the hustle down there. Is not saying it doesn't exist here. It does. It's
Yeah.
just at a different level down there, right?
Interesting. So that
And
rebellious spirit of the American.
yes, yeah, yeah. Protocols, we'll just rewrite it. You know.
Yeah. How did, like, because going, being in the States, being in Canada, how did that shape you? Because you had all these, because it wasn't just like one part of the States. It was New York, New Jersey, Florida, the West Coast. They all have their different kind of flavors. So
Yeah. What I do appreciate about North America in general is we have a diverse mix of people, races, cultures, everything. Like you can go through North America and probably run into maybe a good majority of the cultures that exist in the world, right?
mm,
I think I'm not going to say they're all represented here, but a vast majority are represented. All I mean, even just in Toronto, right? It's a true multicultural city, um, so being able to move through North America, I feel like the biggest thing I had was the exposure to all the different cultures, races, and people from around the world. So it doesn't matter if East Asian, South Asian, you know, Northern African, whatever it is, if they're from South America. I feel like there's so much diverse exposure, and I feel like that really shaped me a lot. Just being able to have that exposure to all these different cultures and people, and it helps to also expand your mindset when you have that, right? And even opening up different ways of thinking that maybe you wouldn't have if you were just limited to one thing or one place or whatever that might be, right?
yeah,
So that's the one thing I would say about North America and what I've picked up just having the privilege to just travel around over the years and obviously there are some parts where maybe may not be as diverse, but that's fine too.
yeah,
Because you're just meeting people and they're meeting you and there's this exchange going on, right?
yeah,
And you know, so that'd be my biggest appreciation for being here in North America, right? Is how diverse we are.
so more
uh,
diversity.
yeah, and which is why sometimes things don't make sense. It's like we're a diverse group, and we do get along, right? Like there's you know, I know people, for example, and from Iran, and they're from Israel, and they're like best friends, or they're couple. You know what I mean? All of that other stuff doesn't really exist, you know, kind of at our level, and I don't know how much we appreciate it.
Mm,
I think if more people traveled more, you definitely appreciate what we have here. Once you take all the noise out of it, right? So
that's a good point.
yeah.
Now, it's interesting because you come from a business and finance background. Where is that something that you were always interested in, or is that something you were really good at? What specifically is your degree?
I will say that yes, I was always interested in this because to my earliest memory, I feel like I was always interested in betting on myself, right?
Mm,
And so I never wanted to leave it up to another company, somebody else, whatever the case might be. So my earliest, I'm thinking like I remember myself playing in the basement in New Jersey with whatever ca- cardboard cutouts I was doing, making buildings and offices and stuff like that. So I do feel as though I came out, or like I don't think there was ever really another thought. Now there are moments when that concept maybe was clearer to me than others, or manifested better than others. But I feel as though that was always going to be the path that I was going to go down, where I would write my own story, kind of bet on myself, and let the cards fall however they were going to fall. Right. I
yeah.
don't know if there was another path to that. You know.
So what, but like what degree do you have? I'm just curious.
So my background was in finance, as you
Mm,
said,
mhm,
and I had a bachelor in business.
okay.
Yeah, and even before that, I got into the finance world very early on. So I had like the fortunate privilege to be sponsored by, one of the big investment banks that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I think they were credited for the collapse in '08, but we don't have to go there. I wasn't around for that. But yeah, and then from there you just kind of just forge my own ways. And we talk about entrepreneurship. There were a lot of different arenas that I was involved in before, from not just entertainment, but other ventures, even to manufacturing, right? A lot of things didn't work out.
Yeah.
Some did, most didn't, as with life, but a lot of lessons learned, a lot of leadership principles I think I learned through a lot of the pathways I took. And all of those skills really you just keep applying to the next step forward, right? Ultimately, when I got into this space, I knew this was the space that I would be locked in for like a really long period of time, right?
Yeah.
So it was one where you would put your heels down and you just, no matter what it was, you're going to just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, right?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about this space of film is that every project is literally a startup project. It's like
Yeah.
a new company. Like so if we're working on a slate of 10 films, we're literally starting up 10 new companies, right?
Would
um
would you consider yourself an entrepreneur?
yes, definitely an entrepreneur. And I often like to tell people, yes, I'm a filmmaker, but I'm really in the business of filmmaking, right?
Mm,
Because you have to be.
yeah.
If you don't treat it like a business, it's ultimately just a hobby, and the hobby will get you. I guess if it's a hobby and you're just doing it for fun, then that's fine.
Yeah.
However, there's still other things you need to do in life, right?
Yeah.
But in the business of film, this is, what I'm doing every single day, right?
Yeah. Is
Um,
is there a certain entrepreneur that you're inspired by?
I look at guys like, it's interesting because I feel like there is a division, and I definitely lean towards a lot of the older school entrepreneurs, like the Richard Bransons. I
Yeah.
get them.
Same here.
Um, yeah. uh, Today, I think there's a different meaning for that word.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different than maybe the older school guys, but yeah, if I had to point to one guy, he was always somebody I looked at a lot just because of his ability to diversify and kind of spread out his interest, and just being able to move that whole group of companies he was a part of inch by inch, inch by inch, inch by one step, one step. They've tried ventures too, even at their stage of the game that didn't work, right?
Yeah.
But I could see they were always trying to evolve and not just do that, but also take. I feel like one of the reasons I point him out, he also takes a lot of the things that I guess were learned, resources that were acquired or accumulated, and tries to pay it forward, right,
Yeah. I think
to
that's one
the
of the things
world.
that's interesting about him is how much he gives back, you know. What I wanted to ask because coming from a background in finance, how do you think that helps you in film?
So in the business of filmmaking, it's everything. And it's not really something, it might have been something I took for granted a little bit until I started talking to other filmmakers, other producers, and trying to help them out with what they're doing, because a lot of and I don't know if our audience right now, if there's producers or filmmakers listening, but a common thing sometimes I'll hear from, and I heard this from somebody recently. I went to this workshop about producing and all of this stuff, and they were a little disappointed. And I said, "Well, why are you disappointed?" Because, well, I wanted to understand, like where do you get the money to do this stuff, right? And you didn't get the answers. And so I said to him, I said, "Well, you're asking the wrong question, because if somebody came to you right now and offered you a check, are you even ready to receive it?" So, so before you can even get there, you gotta, what's the structure that you're gonna build around
Yeah.
this, the business structure, right?
What
That
are you
you're
gonna
gonna,
do with it? This is
yeah, what,
if we just give you $1 billion or, 10 million, do you know how to use that money well? You know,
use it
budget.
well. What's the financing plan behind it? What's how does the return get paid back? And there's a whole artwork to just the structure of these things, right? And I feel as though it's one of the things that's never spoken about, but it is the area that you spend a lot of time with in terms of a story development. If you look at the life cycle and you look at the development, the financing plan, it's probably takes a good chunk um, of the life of that film, right?
Yeah,
Again, the production, boom, it's like you could blink. You shot the film, it's done, you're in post, right?
yeah,
The work getting there is the biggest amount of work, and obviously you got to have a plan to get there, and the plan usually revolves around the finances to actually make this thing. But before you can even start to ask that question, there's still so many other things you got to do before it, right? In terms of again, and a lot of, if you look at Elon Musk or these startup companies, they have to do the same thing. Okay, what's our product? Who's our market? How much is it going to cost to make the product? How much is it going to cost to get it to the market? Factor in all these things. Are we actually able to make money? How long will it take to make money? All these factors you have to plan for ahead of time. Not that it's going to work out exactly as you plan, but there's, a framework. And then once you figure that out, it's kind of like, okay, now I know exactly what I need. And based on what I need, this is where I need to go to get the money, right? Is it a bank? Is it a private investor? Is it a what? I mean, there's just, it's like getting a mortgage on a house. A lot of different types of mortgages, right?
yeah,
A lot of different types of mortgage lenders. Which one are you going to go to? Um, you're going to have to break down your situation and figure out where exactly you stand and all the various components, and then you figure out where to go, right?
yeah.
So a lot of these things I just kind of took for granted. I just assumed this is what everybody does. And I realized over the years, not so much, right? Um, Not so much at all. And then just even with, and not saying it's not done, but I mean, I've seen some things that I just thought were a given, right?
Yeah.
You,
Budget.
you know, yeah,
Balancing a
budgeting,
budget and not and
yeah,
realizing that a lot of people don't know how to do that, and they just show up, and it's like, "Oh, wait, we spent that money. We don't have any more money. We're and we're out." And that
yeah.
happens more often than people realize.
Well, and even sometimes in the independent world, I'll see filmmakers hurrying up to just go and shoot the film and get it done, and
Yeah.
then they can't deliver it with a clean chain of title. And then, we've talked to people, and they're like, "Well, what is that?" Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, all right,
Yeah, yeah. What s
okay."
when you were learning this, is this stuff that you relied on from schooling, from being a from being in business, or is this something that you just continued to learn? Was there a book that you were inspired by or s
These were things that I had to continually learn just through my, various ventures, various, mistakes happen. Well, why did this project not work? Oh, okay, this is what we could have done differently, right? In terms of structuring it, or whatever the case may be. I don't know if there's one. I know there's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of guidelines, but I feel as though my experience was definitely firsthand.
Okay.
That's why I feel like I got to the point where I'm methodical about things. You think about things, for example, on a film production, like from development, from the first concept of the idea, we're already building the chain of title, right? So it's very definitive by the time we get to the end. We're, already copywriting stuff. We're organizing it administratively so that the story is an actual IP. It's an actual intellectual property that you can build. Essentially, you are building a company around it.
Yeah.
And that's why I say they're all like startup companies, right? So you follow the steps and don't take, the shortcuts. So by the time you get to the end of the line, it's just, it's less work at the end, right?
What would you
But
what would you say to filmmakers that are starting out? What advice would you give them from that standpoint of financing films?
Well, one, it's okay to take your time. But I just sometimes there's this, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's FOMO. People think they're going to miss out on something and they need to get their story out first.
Yeah.
And like there's this rush, we got to do it next weekend, and they will bootstrap and whatever that needs to get done to get it done. But I would encourage them, it's okay, and just say it's okay to take your time, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes these ideas, these stories, these intangible things, they're sitting with you for so long, and they do deserve sometimes the right treatment to get birthed into the world. So it's okay to take the time. People do take time to develop the story because they absolutely have to. It's a non-negotiable, but it's okay to take your time to figure out the right structure to put around the story to get the resources you need to do it right. If let's say if you only had one shot at it, you're going to take the best possible shot that you can take, right? So I tell them it's okay to take your time. Before you start worrying about where's the money, who has the money, who can I call, you really have to be prepared for them, and you got to be prepared for the questions, and you got to be prepared to actually receive those resources, right? So that's why I said it's okay to take your time, right? Sometimes you may not get a second crack at it.
What are some of the questions are these just financial questions, would you say, that they're being asked?
Well, it's funny because during TIFF, there were a few people I was approached by at different events, and they're talking to me, filmmakers from wherever they were from. I don't know, but there was something I really, really realized, and I said, I've probably had about two or three people approach me, and they immediately started pitching me their project. Okay, no problem. But I realized they did not know how to pitch their project. One, because they just kept talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking to the point where when they were done, I didn't even know what the project was or what the story was.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that I noticed there was no specific ask. So there's this pitch, and which I didn't, okay, that's one
Just
thing that
help me,
needs to be
man.
worked.
Help
Yeah.
me. You know, I've
I
come
mean,
with hat in hand, and it
yeah,
just do it. It's like, well, what do you?
yeah.
And your question is, what specifically do you want us to help? Is the finance? What do you want? And they're just like, no, here's it is. Get it.
Yeah, just they came at me with a few pitches, and I asked, "What's your specific ask?" And for the three people I'm thinking about, they didn't know.
So what is your
They
next
just
question after that to them?
uh, so I said, "Well," I said, "Okay, well, maybe you think about it, and you know how to get in touch with me, right?" And but it was very interesting because they're making a pitch, but they weren't sure what they were asking for. And if they were asking for development money, I don't think they knew how much they needed. So they're doing this film, and they've got a story, but they don't have,
Yeah.
the stuff around a story. So then I'm thinking, well, that's me, and they're going to go and talk to a lot of people during TIFF, and they're going to meet a lot of people, and they could very well meet the one person that could do something, but it's not going to happen like this,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I said it's okay to take your time, build a package. So when you do make that little pitch, you can also know exactly what you're asking for, right? And what you're going to give in return for it. And it's
Yeah.
very like the specifics are there. You know what I mean?
Like, like, have you consulted with like a line producer? Like, if you have the script already, do you know how much this is going to cost instead of just coming to you and saying, listen, I've got this great, it's great, this best movie. I don't know if you've ever
Yes.
seen the movie The Player. There's this part where they just come to see me, no Hollywood, nobody here. We're going to have no stars or whatever. And we're just, he's like looking at him like, how are we going to sell it? And,
Yeah.
it's kind of the same thing that's happening to you. It's like, it's the greatest movie you've ever heard. It's a great idea. And it's like, what are you asking? Yeah, we can agree that
Yeah.
it's a good idea, but you need to give me some kind of, do you have any specifics of like how much money you need? If, like you said, if it's in development, do you have a script? Is it, you know, where are we at? Are we looking at post production? And they didn't know. Would you
Yeah.
would you use that time to this? It's TIFF, so this time is of the essence. But would you give any of those people the time to explain to them like their mistake, or do you think it's not your place to give that?
When people ask, and people have asked me, right? And I have taken time to explain that to them. During those types of events at TIFFs, it's really tough. And it's just there's a lot going on. There's people you need to see and stuff like that. But I always tell them, feel free to reach out, and I'm always
Yeah,
glad to help if I can. Whether it be
sure.
advice or whatever, and if they follow up, that's great. If not, that's fine too, right?
Yeah,
Um, I think now more than ever, I think there was a time in the industry where you could do stuff on spec, and that was only really limited to even certain people too. You just pitch an idea. Okay, well, here's money. Let's like, can you get me a script in 2 weeks? And then all of a sudden you get development money or whatever.
yeah,
That time I think has come and gone, especially when you see what Paramount just did. New owners come in, they want to consolidate. First thing they do, what was the first thing they did? Buy the UFC, right?
yeah,
They're very interested in sports right now. And a lot of those guys want stuff that are put together.
yeah,
Like come to us when it's put together and you already lined up whatever you need to line up, right? So different era we're in right now. So, you know,
please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.